welcome to another episode of Shooting
the Shit with Rachael
and Neal Young. So we're talking all things real estate photography business growth, mindset, and getting it done. Here come your favorite true entrepreneurs, Rachael and Neal Young, shooting the shit.
I have a ferret on the podcast. Like if we're kind of in a slump, like what kind of things do you do?
Talking about a boob light.
Straddling a power line.
Nice photo.
Ooh, I need that.
I'm like red right now because I'm embarrassed. I go like this. I love it.
Come in.
Sure, use your podcast voice.
You know, over here, I'm pitting out.
Drone's like flipping to the ground.
That's a great callback.
Chit-chatting.
Is that what you call that?
Hey!
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Shooting the Shit. We are so happy that you guys are coming back week after week to listen to us ramble on about all the ins and outs of real estate photography, business, mindset, and all that stuff we just chat about. So thank you for being loyal listeners. We appreciate it. If you want to head over to Instagram, we have a lot of good marketing materials that we put out there that will help you and your business grow. We're also on YouTube, so you can find us there as well. So Instagram handle is Shooting the Shit with Rach and Neal. And Neal, we are on YouTube as, what is it? It's tough because we wanted to appeal to the masses. So,
well, technically YouTube wouldn't let us use shit in the title. So we had to come up with some like symbols for it. So you're going to you can search for Rachael and you'll probably be able to find it, but it's a very similar title with numbers instead of, symbols instead of shit. So
yes. And we love your feedback. We were just talking that we got a couple comments on YouTube with questions and Neal didn't really know the answer. So he's going to ask me and then we'll reply to those people. But we were thinking if we get some good questions, it would be fun just to do an episode with questions from you guys. So please ask us some questions on YouTube or on Instagram and we will put together a whole episode around those questions. That would be fun. Kind of like Ask the Boss, She's the Boss. When we did a couple of those episodes. Neal, we should do another one.
We should do another one with the YouTube stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
You do taxes, Rachael?
Of course.
Sorry. I meant to say sales tax.
Oh no.
Your state. Oh, okay. No. We don't either.
Royalty.
One of the questions was about how do you handle a sales tax? And I'm like, we don't have it in New Hampshire, so I didn't really know how to answer. But
yeah, I sell a license, so from my understanding and what my accountant has researched, it's a royalty license. So I don't have to pay sales tax, but I do actually pay a little bit for that, which I just increase my prices a little bit so my clients cover it. I mean, I'm just saying that to make it sound cool. It's not true. It's just in my pricing. I just pay a little bit every quarter or whenever. I don't think it's every quarter, every month I have to pay the little royalty tax, but it's not much. So that's fine. Yeah.
That's cool.
Okay, so today we're going to hop into chatting about rebranding. And Neal is kind of at the tail end of his rebrand. I have rebranded twice now in the last 6 years. So we have a little bit of experience with this. And I know there's a lot of questions around rebranding. I know at PMRE, I had a couple people I talked to about their rebranding. I've had people reach out on social media. I have one of my team members who's currently going through it. So he's been asking me a question. So I just feel like this is a good episode for anybody who's considering rebranding, or even if you're new and just starting in the business, this is going to be a good episode for you to listen to really hear like the checklist of what you really need to do to get your brand going. Because there's a lot of different things that go into it. So
and get it right the first time, maybe we won't have to do the rebranding. That would be great.
Learn from our mistakes.
Learn from this guy.
Yes. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit, Neal, about why you would rebrand yourself.
Okay. Well, I think the first thing I'm alluding to is having to rebrand. Part of the reason we're rebranding is because we outgrew the name. I did what a lot of photographers do and named us. Just couldn't come up with an idea. I loved them. Like, I'm just making an NRY photo, right? And it's limiting for two reasons, because the photo sounded great when that was all I focused on was photos. And I thought it was short and sweet and great, easy peasy, done, easy to remember kind of thing. But now our services have changed. We offer a ton more. So photos sounds really limiting. And now the team has grown and it's not just me. So then my initials, could apply, could not. But for a while now, I've just been thinking about it as sounding a little too limiting and wanting to have something a little broader that could encompass whatever I might do in the future.
Mhm.
And so that was the biggest reason that we changed. And that's one of the reasons to change, right?
Yeah.
Or two
And
of them.
that's something I've heard quite a bit. Like my first business was my name too. It was Rachael Adkins Photography. And then we moved to Rachael Ann, which I'll explain that. And then I had to get my name off the business. But when you first start out, you really are just a single entity, and you don't, I guess a lot of us don't realize how big it can get or the potential of the growing. So just, I've heard a lot of people say you never want to name your business your own after your own name. So one thing to think about too is in the future, if you ever want to sell this business, like have an exit, you want to plan to have an exit strategy when you're building a business. So think about it in terms of that. If you're going to sell it in 10 years down the line and you've branded it around your own personal name and now you're stepping out, it's going to be really hard to sell that business to someone else and have them come in and run it the same way you are, because it's tied to your personal name.
And there's always exceptions. I mean, if you're Howard Johnson, but
okay, well, there's that.
But it's a good thing to think about,
Yeah. Exactly. Sure. Exactly. So yeah, you outgrow your name, you get a team. Maybe your all your stuff is just outdated. Like you just really don't like your logo anymore, and you want to revamp your colors, and maybe you've grown a lot personally and you just have kind of grown up from what you started with and it's time for a refresh. That's a good reason to rebrand as well.
Yeah. Maybe your clientele has changed or your market has changed. You could have moved. And it doesn't make sense to be media Florida anymore. Or your clientele, maybe you started out doing kind of average houses and now you're doing these $1 million mansions, and maybe your branding just doesn't match anymore. So you want to change it up, the look, the name, everything potentially. And you could just do a little refresh to change it up and keep the same name, but change the look and feel a little bit. And that's kind of a slight difference between a full like rebranding. You can definitely do a refresh, which is just kind of a, livening things up and changing up a little bit just to stay, with the times, I guess we'd say.
Yes, totally. And I think a refresh is a lot easier, definitely a lot easier than a full rebrand. So, and it can get expensive because you have to get like everything new. It's a lot of work. But I think well worth it, especially if you're trying to go places, you're trying to grow, you're trying to do bigger things, and you want to really consider, where you're going to be in the future before you start your rebrand. So you got to really consider the timing of, where you see yourself out now and where you're potentially going to grow to before you pick a name and go forward.
Yeah. I mean, if you think this is just a short-term thing, and maybe it'd be smart to think about what Rachael said, that, you might sell this in 2 years to somebody else. They'll take over your list of clients and you go move on to the next thing. Then think about that in your marketing. What's going to be an easier sell? So Rach, you've been through this twice and you're successfully, I've saw all your social and stuff that you were doing for this most recent one. But I don't know much about the first one. I'd like to hear about kind of both, and we get everybody up to speed. So tell us, I want to know about the first one. Start there. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Okay. So I got married in 2019. So my business name was Rachael Adkins Photography, and I was going to take my husband's last name, which was Harp. And therefore I needed to change my business name. So I thought, well, if my middle name is Ann, so if I did Rachael Ann Photography, then I could keep that same logo. It would be less of, a jarring change.
Yep.
And at this time, this was pre-COVID. So before I had any shooters, it was just me. Business was going great, but I really didn't see myself getting a team. I didn't really plan ahead. Like it's kind of like my whole theme in life. I just kind of go day by day and things just happen and doors open and I run through them. Now I'm a little bit more intentional with my, my dreaming of the future. But at that time I was content where I was at, didn't know where I was going with this. I just knew business was good and I was enjoying what I was doing. So Rachael Ann Photography felt fitting at the time.
Yep.
Man, my kids, when I told them I was going to change my name, they got very upset and they were like, Mom, you can't change your name because then you won't be our mom. And I was like, I'll still be your mom. I'll just have a different last name. Like, it's not that big of a deal. They're like, don't change it. Like, literally, my son was in tears at one point, and I was like, oh my gosh, really, you guys? And I'd already started the process of rebranding. So I was already fully committed to the Rachael Ann. So I'm like, really? They're telling me now? Gosh. So I ended up deciding to not, and my husband didn't care. He's like, whatever, it doesn't matter, honey. Like, it's just a name. I'm like, okay. And the kids had a good point though. Cause if I take the kids to the doctor's office and I have a different last name, I feel like they're going to question. They'll be like, who are you? Who's Rachael Harp? Who are these Adkins kids? These aren't your children. So in that sense, I kind of am happy that I have the same last name as my kids, right? So, and I've had the name for like 13 years or 13 years at the time. So that's my name, it's weird to change your last name. It's like
our mom rebranded and now we don't have one.
She's gone.
That's it. She's gone. We should just did a refresh.
Right. So after all this, I tell the kids, like, they're all upset and I'm like, fine, I won't change my name,
Yeah.
And they go, oh, Mom, we don't really care if you change your name. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, really? It's like weeks later, I finally tell them, like, okay, I'm not going to change my name. I'm already committed. I'm going to just rebrand to this. And so anyway, so that was the whole reason behind the first rebrand, which honestly, at the end of the day, I didn't even need to do it because I didn't even change my name. So, but what it did do, which was good, is it gave me an updated logo because we did rebrand my logo. So I created my website on Wix, which was, pretty cookie cutter, like easy to do. And I got a lot of compliments on it, but I had met my brand manager, Lacey, and I was referred to her by one of my clients and just loved her work. And she said, I can come into Wix and just revamp it for you and just like polish it up. And I was like, let's do it. It was like half the price of doing the full new build on a website. So she came in and did that, which made a huge difference. I was able to add, just another level of professionalism. I'm a firm believer that if you build it, they will come. If you present yourself like you are the best in the business, you're going to get more clients, like present yourself better than you actually are and grow into that role. That was kind of my mindset that I took on early. So by hiring her, it was a huge just step in the right direction. So that was my first rebrand. It was pretty easy, honestly. It was just a lot. It's just a lot of moving parts, just a lot of little things. I didn't have an online ordering system at the time, so there was nothing to update there. My email signature was super basic. It was pretty easy. I just had to get new business cards. It wasn't that big of a deal. Now, the second rebrand that we did, moving from Rachael and photography into Focused Media Collective, was due to us just growing and me having a team. So, originally it was just me and it was fine, but now it got to the point where like everyone thought that it was just me and it was my own fault. Like I didn't post my team on social media, didn't really talk about them very much. So a lot of people would call and they'd want to book a shoot. And I'd say, oh yeah, you call in, we'll be your shooter today. And they'd be like, oh, I thought I was going to get you. And I was like, oh no, I have a team. And they're like, oh, you do? Like, yeah, well, I have like 3 people shooting for me now and and so people just didn't know. And that was my own fault. Like if I had been putting out photos of the team on social media and promoting that aspect a lot more, it probably wouldn't have been as bad. But having my name on the business was just becoming a problem because it just felt too like centered, like self-centered. I don't think that's the right word, but it was just too much of like a one-person outfit when it really was it's growing into this like media company, basically, is what we're becoming, and there's a lot
like collective of media even.
Exactly. We're a collective of creative geniuses just all working together for one common goal in mind. So So anyways, so the rebrand second time, I had a lot more insight to think ahead into the future of like when I sell this business, which I am going to sell this business one day, I want to make sure that it is sellable and that I can easily pass that off to someone else. So and I've been, we did a team photo shoot. We made a team video. I'm trying to incorporate my team more on social media, which is still a challenge because we're never really together because we all shoot separately. But
even from that one session that you did together, you got a lot of content that you were able to reuse and repurpose and stuff. And I think that worked really well for me to get the message across.
Yes. And I do a newsletter. So in my newsletter, I was able to announce it that way. I was shocked at how many people had no idea how big of a team that I had. They were like, people were like, wow, you're really doing great. You have this big team. And I was like, oh yeah, I've had a lot of people with me for a while, but just people weren't aware. So that was cool. And then some people think that I literally just started my business when I started Focused Media Collective. I had a gal say, oh yeah, you just started doing this, right? Like in the spring. And I was like, oh no, we've been around for like 6 years. She was like, oh, that was kind of funny. I was like, oh. I mean, I'm flattered because I feel like,
well, yeah, because you see the like meet the team and stuff. Yeah, you wish you could just start out with a team of like 6 people or whatever. Yeah.
So anyway, so that rebrand, I have a lot of support from the team, right? Like my brand manager did a complete rebuild of my website, which she has been bothering me for the last like year and a half, not bothering me, but encouraging me for the last year and a half to build a website on WordPress, because she said we can do so much more with it than we can with Wix. Like we're really limited with Wix on what creativity like wise that she could do. So I gave her free rein. I said, let's do it. We're having a good year. You know, it's not cheap to build a new website, but yeah, so we did it from the ground up, and that was all part of the rebrand too, which was cool. So, and then like she helped me with the business cards, and you know, I had to switch over the whole HT Photo Hub backend system and launch that at midnight or whatever, like, you know, the night before. And yeah, I sent out the newsletter and the social build up, like me and my social media manager were working together to kind of announce it before, like big things are coming, you know, blah, 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 just kind of like teasing it a little bit. And then it's like the big reveal on the day of. So it was a lot of fun. You know, it was a lot of work, but I had a lot of support around me too. So I feel like it went pretty.
Yeah. And you pulled it off. You pulled it off, and now you're this brand new image.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we're a collective.
Very cool.
Creatives. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we didn't have to do it at quite as big of a scale as you did, but yeah, it's quite a lot that goes into it. And honestly, still tying up loose ends. Like we were just joking and recorded. Well, I had to actually record my voicemail, because today even somebody said everybody knows we're HYN Group now. We did a good job with that. People know it from this person telling me this. I'm like, oh, well, at least they know the message that we've changed. But she's like, oh, by the way, I think you have to change your voicemail though, because it says NRY photo and you're HYN something, right?
Yeah, that's so bad. I did the exact same thing. Someone was like, oh, you need to change your voicemail. And I was like, oh, duh. Yeah. Thank you. Like I totally forgot. Yeah.
And
it's like, you never hear your own voicemail, right?
No. And I haven't touched that thing in years. So I'm like, oh, geez, it just Neal at NRY photo. And I'm like, oh, right. I got to change that. Holy cow. Yeah. But yeah, then, you know, we also switched at the same time to, which I've been intending to do forever, but we now switched to an LLC.
Why don't you explain why you rebranded? Because I don't think you said that yet.
Why we rebranded? So we're really branching out. A lot of our services is the biggest reason. So what we did with HT Photo Hub helped people this past summer understand that now there was Zach as another shooter. So it wasn't just me. When they saw their faces, when they booked, that made that much clearer. So a lot of people got that idea already. Also, my wife decided to join in on the group too. And she's going to be doing a lot of branding stuff, branding sessions, photography with agents. But the big thing is we were just, for a long time, I've been kind of dabbling with these ideas of doing some social media content for them and all this stuff. But what I learned after doing that a little bit last year was that there still was a big missing piece of that puzzle. And that was helping them with the actual social media creation and the posting and stuff like that. It's like you can give them all the content in the world, which we already kind of do with our listing media, and it's not utilized to its fullest. There's a lot that's missed there. And even just their success in posting a photo or a video on Facebook or Instagram is they're not always great at it. A lot of times they got a black frame for their first thing you see when you look at it, and you never even see it because you scroll right by it, all kinds of stuff. So I just really wanted to make it make it more of what we changed to a group where I'm actually going to really help them and guide them more. And I thought through, you know, that step would be the media creation and the media management. So Zach's taking over leading up social media management, as well as he'll still be doing some independent shooting because he still loves to do that. And we'll be taking on clients who want us to help with social media creation and social media management. And then we've got Heidi doing the branding stuff. So they've got the content to tie in with that, to always get their face on everything. And so we're adding a whole lot of new services. And now we really did feel like an entity instead of individual photographers, all kind of with a collective goal to kind of, you know, grow together. That's the idea, is that I was like, I think we can help them grow, which will help us grow, because when they succeed, we succeed. And so yeah.
Neal, did you see yourself growing like this when you started, or was this kind of like a surprise to you?
Well, no, I mean, I didn't even ever think I would be doing real estate photography. Ever.
I know, but when you committed to doing real estate photography, like when you started doing it kind of like full time, did you think about the future and like you might be expanding out? No.
Did I? Right in the beginning, I mean, I my only focus in the beginning was to make enough money to pay the mortgage and to not have to go back.
on your calendar.
Yeah, to not have to go back to work. I had thoughts along the way of, maybe I could eventually branch out to other locations. I kind of always thought about, like, I don't know, I always felt like this was my home base, so it was always going to be me more. But I always thought, like, well, maybe I could do something in another location and start, a photographer or a couple of photographers there and branch out that way. But I never thought that I would be heading, I don't know. I think I was always all over the place a little bit, honestly. I mean, I've always really had video production in my head more than just the photography. So I was always kind of dabbling here and dabbling there, but it took a while to kind of see this, and all the pieces just kind of started to come into play. And it was like, all right, now's the time to go on this. It just seemed like the time to do it. So we just decided to make a lot of changes and go for it, and change the name just to refresh it and not be just about me and not just be about photos. And to try and incorporate everybody. We really want people to think about it as a team effort, because I'm just I'm more of a team kind of personality anyway.
Yeah, and you have really taken your marketing to the next level, Neal. I love all your reels. So Neal has just like hit it hard with social media, since he's now offering social media marketing for brokers. He's just, leading by example, and
exactly.
He's gone crazy with it. And it's the three of them, their team, that are in almost all the reels. And it's been really fun to watch. It's very,
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And it was like, well, and that's a hard thing when you're doing something from scratch like that, is you need clients. And I said, well, the first client is me. Let's do it. Like I'm in all of our, documents and stuff as a client,
Cool.
And so why not walk through the process with me and treat me like a client? If I'm supposed to be doing something, you need to be emailing me like I'm a client, and, all that kind of stuff. So yeah. And now we're just trying to get other people on board with it. But yeah, like you said, we're just putting it all out there and kind of faking it till we make it, until they believe it and come on board with us with it. So, we're in the Hail Mary stage of it, really. And getting everybody to buy into it, which is especially hard when you don't have the proof until you get somebody on board. So we're trying to talk to people to get them hooked for a little while, to get the data we need and to move forward. But I'm excited about it, and I think we're heading in the right direction. And we're all we can do is what we always preach, Rach, is to start walking in the right direction.
Right, and just start doing it. Quit talking about it and go do it.
So that's what we're doing. Yeah,
exactly. That's great. Yeah. Good for you. Yeah. All right, so things to consider when you rebrand. I think we kind of covered a little bit of this already, but timing is a big one. You definitely don't want to rebrand during the busy season, because it is a lot of work and a lot of moving parts, and can be stressful. So I would highly recommend doing it in your slower season, or get it prepped and ready to go in your slow season. So then once you start to ramp up, maybe, February or March, you can launch it, and it's like the fresh new look for the new year. I think that would be my timing,
Yeah, and you don't want to confuse you probably don't want to confuse your current clients during the busy season either, when they're already freaking out about everything. And then they go, where's your site? It looks different. Is this the right site? Where am I? How do I book?
Exactly.
Yeah, you gotta be careful not to, in this transition, not to lose your clients just because they get confused or whatever the case, or frustrated. So that was a fear that we had about changing the name, and then the website changing, to make sure that if they still went to NRY Photo, would they still get to the new website? And so we had to do all these redirects and stuff like this, which have worked out, luckily, that people have even said to me, oh yeah, so you changed. For a second I was like, I wasn't sure if it was you, but then I saw the pictures and stuff, but because they search NRY Photo like they normally would, and it redirected them seamlessly, so they don't really know. But anyway, so yeah, it was good. But yeah, that's something to think about for sure.
Yeah. So timing, also, a name, like we said before, is something you can grow into. That's important. Make sure it's going to sustain itself. We're going to run through a checklist of what is involved with a rebrand, and we will have this checklist available for you if you send us a DM on Instagram and send us your email. We will send you this checklist so you can use it for your next rebrand. So we're just going to rattle through some of these and talk about a few. There's probably someone here that may not apply to you, or a few that we have forgotten. So we'd love to hear in the comments too, if there's anything else that we are missing on this list. Please let us know.
All right. So obviously you're going to update, you're changing your name, you're going to change your logo. Probably you might as well update your colors and make it look all fancy and cool, right? So start there. That's the one that most people think of first, but that's just top level, right? We're going to update the website, right? So might as well do a refresh, a new look. Since you have the new change and everything, you might as well have a new look on the website, which we did. And it's kind of a heavier, more of an impact, a bigger splash, like, oh, cool, things have changed and look how fancy it is,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you have if you have a newsletter, I don't, but Rachel does. If you got a newsletter, you're definitely going to want to update that most likely.
Yeah, and I use a template, so I just duplicate the newsletter from last month and then just populate in the stuff for the next month, so it's easy. So yeah, you'll just want to update all of that. Another one is your price sheet. So you have a price sheet that you send out to clients, and it's got your branding at the top. That shouldn't be too difficult. Hopefully you have it saved somewhere.
If your services have changed, you're probably gonna have to add all kinds of new stuff in there, which we're still kind of ironing out. Yep.
A big one is Google My Business. So with this one, a lot of us have those Google reviews that we've stored up. Those will transfer to your new business, but you do lose not all of your SEO, but a lot of your SEO from your old business name. So that's one of the downsides of rebranding. So
yeah. Well, upside on that is actually, I never really did most of the stuff you could do even on Wix for SEO before. And I just did a little of that SEO stuff, and they give you information right on Wix or whatever you use in Squarespace, how to do it. And actually, we've seen improvements already. So might as well put some effort in while you're redoing things to add a little, if you didn't do any of the SEO stuff, which is fancy words for way of people trying to find you, might as well do it. So yeah.
Love it. Love it.
Cool.
So if you copyright your images, you want to update your copyright information.
Yeah, like in your camera, like in my camera, I go in there and I put a copyright inside my camera on all the files. So like if somebody brings the file to CVS and tries to print it up, a lot of times they'll be like, oh, sorry, this is a professional photographer's images. You can't print these. So update that.
Yes. Your contracts, all your license agreements and all that need to be updated with the new brand. Your social media handles. So this is LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, TikTok. I think that's all of them.
And these are tricky. Facebook is still not letting me switch that yet. It's
really?
Like it might take up to 7 days, and it didn't do it the first time. I tried it again, and I'm waiting again. But like Instagram was no problem. It's so weird. So I don't know why that is, but
Facebook is just difficult, I guess. Another site too is HD Photo Hub. You want to update all your branding within there. So
yeah, totally.
Yeah, and your email signatures, that's a big one.
Oh yeah, if you've got flyers and stuff, you got to update your flyers. But also, don't forget, if you like on your business card, like me, have a QR code, you want to make sure that that's bringing them to the right place still. Yeah, that's a good one.
One more thing to go back to talk about social media. So not only are you updating your handles on those platforms, but also where your handles are seen. So on your email signature, maybe you have your social handles on there, right? Or on your, I don't know, wherever else they might be.
Oh yeah, and if you do any like hashtag like cheat sheet or anything like that, you've got to if you're like copying and pasting something, you might have forgot that you got to update all your hashtags probably if you're tagging yourself for anything, for any reason, for keeping your stuff organized and whatnot, to find your own stuff on social media and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Did you say QR codes already?
Yes, QR codes we got. Mentioned that. And your postcards kind of in tandem with that if you have them on your postcards and stuff.
Yeah, update your mission statement if your business has really changed. Like mine went from a solo person to a team. So my mission statement would be more team centric. So maybe you can rethink that.
Yeah, and that helps you with your posts. If you're really thinking, it sounds silly, but when you really think about it, it makes it really easy to kind of laser focus, like even posts and stuff like that on social. So that's a good thing to do for sure.
Yeah.
Let's see, gallery. Oh yeah, like so now that we have Rachel's note here is the gallery sharing stuff. So Rachel uses that shoot proof, whereas I was using SmugMug before for like when I had headshot sessions, but now I'm switching to shoot proof, especially since Heidi's doing the branding stuff. I think that shoot proof matched the branding kind of aesthetic better. So now we're using all that, and then we had to update that. And then there's Stripe that's in that we got to update that to connect to the bank accounts, which also you have to update your bank accounts, get a new bank account for your new business. And we switched to LLC. If you aren't already, maybe that's a good time to make that switch for, if it makes sense for you.
All your branding materials.
Yeah.
So your business cards, your flyers, your car magnet. Neal, what else?
Your tattoos, you might want to get those
Neil's gonna
laser.
go get
I
the
gotta get.
laser.
I gotta get rid of my tramp stamp. Um,
Show them, Neal. Show them your tramp stamp. It
Here
says
it
NRY
comes.
photo.
NRY photo right across the back, baby.
Okay. For those of you not watching, he's kidding. He does not have a tramp stamp. That would be awesome, Neal. I think you should get one now.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, please.
That would go viral.
That'd be good for market. That'd be good for business. Do it.
It'd be really good for business. Every time you
Real.
every time you're squatting in the yard taking pictures, trying to get that angle.
If only low cut jeans were back in style. Actually, I think they are. I can't even keep up
yeah, I think
they're coming back.
Yeah.
Great.
But nobody wants to see a tramp stamp on Neal. I promise you that. Well, probably everybody actually does. They would all. Who wouldn't get laugh out of that?
Right. Yes. All right. So
what else? What else?
Name. Your business name.
Oh, a license.
Update that. And like you said, this is a good time to change to an LLC if you're a sole proprietor or whatever you are. It's a good time to update to an LLC or an S corp or whatever. And then you want to change your name with the IRS and the Secretary of State. So to there. Also your insurance, make sure you're updating your insurance. This is also a good time with your insurance to go through and take a list of inventory. You can tell them the model number or the serial number of all your cameras and lenses, and then they can be that's part of the insurance, right? If anything happens, you can replace those. And a lot of times we switch our gear out, frequently.
Oh, geez, if you're like me and you're paranoid and you wrote your initials on every single one of your Sony batteries just because they cost $80, I mean, you got to update those.
Right.
NRY, nope, HYN, dude.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Yep.
Oh yeah. Totally.
Now, when you go to do your bank account, you have to have your certificate of formation, I think.
Yeah,
right?
you need
to bring with you. So make sure you do your business license update first before you go to the bank.
And also we switched to our LLC, but what we didn't know when I went there for a meeting, I had to have a meeting for whatever reason at my bank to do this whole thing. They wanted that. And then they're like, oh, what's your EIN number or whatever it is, right? And I was like, oh, isn't that the number here on the LLC thing? They're like, no, that's not it. So then we had to get that, which wasn't hard actually. We got it within like 24 hours, but it was just like, oh, now I had to go make the appointment again. And so don't forget, if you don't have that, if you weren't an LLC, you get that. What else do we got?
You got to update your W-9 that you send out to your clients every year. So it needs to reflect your new EIN, your new name. And then make sure you notify your contractors that you're working for too, because they're going to send you an invoice. So like my social media manager, like please invoice, Focus Media Collective now instead of Rachael and Photography. And then update your voicemail.
Update your voicemail.
Like you did today.
I certainly did. And don't forget about the redirects for the website, and think about your timing on when you switch these things is the other thing. You want to be informing your clientele that this is happening. I mean, I was doing a lot of stuff on social and, hey, things are coming, things are changing, and get them excited. We didn't tell them right off the bat even. So people were literally like, what's happening? Just tell us, you're annoying. And that was like perfect because they were listening. Right. And then we told them, but then I realized also, I'm like, you know what? I don't have 1,000 clients. I can also, especially my big clients, I can give them a call on the phone and let them know. And that's what I did. I'm like, oh geez, I don't want my big clients to get confused and not be able to book me. So I said, hey, we're going to switch the website. And I don't know if it's going to go great. So FYI, if you have any problems, let me know. I can still get you booked manually if there is some kind of issue that happens when we switch to the new website, but just know it's changing. And anything you do to make this seamless, because when you have those hiccups, that could be terrifying. In software, we had those things where we'd switch something in the system and then everything crashed and you're just like, the phone starts ringing. And if it's out of the blue, they're not happy.
Oh yeah. Right? No, it's not good. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Like when Instagram went down for 24 hours and everyone's like panicked. Oh no. Yeah. Freak out. Yeah. Or anytime there's like a glitch on ordering with HD. I think there was one time when the ordering form was down on HD Photo Hub for like a few hours or something. And of course my clients try to book and they're like, we know, we're trying to fix it. I'm sure their phones were blowing up.
Oh yeah. But at least if they know it's coming, then they're like, oh, I'll just give Neal a call and they won't freak out or whatever.
Right. So the launch is really important. It's important to prep your audience, let them know something big is coming, start pre-announcing that on social media, in your newsletter. Even the month before you do your launch, you can put out a newsletter and say, we've got a big change coming, stay tuned. That'll also kind of hook them into like, keep tuning in and keep looking for that because they're curious. Like people want to know, oh, what is it? I wonder.
Yeah.
So another good way to get people excited about your rebrand is to offer some kind of contest or a giveaway around that time too. So you can just get more eyes on you, and that'll help them when they see the new brand roll out. They're like, they can, associate it with you. So that's a good
and
one.
this is there's good opportunity here too, that we noticed, and is that when you are having these big changes and stuff, people are actually going to be excited for you, your real true followers and stuff. So you can get some engagement out of these posts and stuff and get people excited and get people on board. So you might get a little growth in your social out of it too. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah. So the big announcement, I did a big social campaign for it. I think we already talked about this. We did all the big videos and all that stuff, put a newsletter out and an email, and I just hit them on every avenue I could, right? So every form of communication that I had with my clients, I told them. And I think a phone call, like you were saying, Neal, to your top producing, your top list of clients, whoever you can call, just let them know, give them a heads up. Hey, we're rebranding. If there's issues, feel free to call. Just wanted to give you a heads up, and they'll appreciate that. And it's a good way to just touch your clients. Like people don't pick up the phone call anymore. It's very seldom that you're talking to people on the phone or even face to face. So yeah, the more contact you can have with your clients, the better, and they'll appreciate it. So yeah. And awesome. It's your time to brag about yourself and really show off what you can do. So go for it. That's like interviews. I listened to something, this was years ago, and they were like, I love going to interviews. It's like the only time that you can brag about yourself and talk about how great you are. And I was like, that's very true. That's exactly what you do.
Oh, is that the only time you can do that? Oh.
Apparently. I mean, this is probably 15 years ago that I heard that, right?
That's all I do when I go in the convenience store. I'm talking to everybody. I don't know if you know how impressive I am. Watch me pick up this Coca-Cola.
I'm really funny. You guys would love me.
You don't know me, but you'd love me if you did. You want to get to know me. Check me out on social.
Yeah. So brag about yourself. Talk about how great you are, because this is your time to like really pump it out.
Yeah,
and show
totally.
how
Right.
Cool
No, it's
your
true.
new business is, and yeah.
Yeah, hit them up with all the cool stuff you do that maybe they already knew, but they need a reminder. Yeah, hit it all up. Look what we do. Boo, boo, boo.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. So again, just hit us up on the DM if you guys want this list. We have it for you. We will send it over via email. So go ahead and DM us on Instagram with your email address and just write, we want the rebrand list or whatever, and we'll get it to you.
Sweet.
Yes.
Sweet.
And cool. What else? Oh, go to YouTube. Follow our YouTube channel.
Yes. Check her out. And thank you all for listening to this hopefully delightful podcast. I know we enjoyed it, and we enjoy that you guys have been listening. And yeah, feel free to DM us for any questions that you guys have and what you'd like to hear more about. And we'd love to talk about it. So cool.
All right. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.